I'm following this guy. You might have recognized him from such movies as Blood into Wine.
Watch your head on the tree branch.
Yeah.
This is such a neat place. It's amazing. Have you ever eaten here before?
Just last night, actually.
Oh, dude, yeah, if you ever get a chance to do a sit-down meal here, the food is so fresh and so meticulously made. It's
This is where they get their ingredients from?
a lot of them, and it seems like the ones that they don't farm here, they source from other local producers. You know, like I had some sausages with breakfast this morning that were just.
Were they the sausages that they had from last night?
No, they were different.
Oh, because I was gonna say those were
pretty tasty.
Those would have been pretty good.
Did you try the salami plate with all the like mortadella and the head cheese? You know, I'm not a big head cheese fan. That was the best darn stuff I've ever had.
Yeah, I actually had seconds.
It was so good. You know, and great wine pairings too. Look at this place. There's something amazing and magical about growing things and farming.
Yeah, I guess you would
know?
find that interesting, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, man. I was watching this group of Mexican guys weeding this morning, and they were all singing, and you know, I think there's something about laboring too that is really good for the human soul.
So you're gonna institute a singing rule on the vineyard?
Yeah. We play a lot of music in our cellar, that's for sure.
Tell me a little bit more about the land and that sort of thing.
Well, you know, people tend, you know, and this is obviously a generalization, but people tend to think, looks like a bird got nailed, a dove got nailed here last night. That's a classic dove feather right there. Dope. Anyway, people tend to, there's always this talk about winemaker this, winemaker that. In fact, you know what? This is going to sound silly, but I felt really bad last night because I got up and grabbed these awards. And you know who should have been up there with me is our vineyard manager. And what happens is I get used to being the guy, like a lot of the people I work with don't like to be up on stage. And so I always do it, and so I just get in this autopilot where I run up there and, so, you know, say something and then disappear. Well, meanwhile, my vineyard manager's here, and he's the guy, you know, like, you know, I really believe great wines are made in the vineyard. And the future of Arizona winemaking ultimately is going to be based on what we can grow, where, and how good the grapes are. You know, and our job is to just, as winemakers, is just to not screw it up if we have a good vintage. And so I think the soils and the elevation and thus the climate, you know, the fluctuations between day and night, cool nights, warm days, all those things are so incredibly important. And I'll tell you this much, in the last 7 or 8 years since I've been here, I'm doing things completely differently than I was 7 years ago. There's places where I planted that things just haven't gone. You know, it's been a waste of money, really. But I shouldn't say a waste. It's then end up being productive financially, but from a learning.
Yeah, you learned a lesson, didn't you?
I learned a shitload, you know. So, and we're still learning, obviously, and it's really cool. I don't get down south to the other growers enough, and just yesterday I was talking with Todd Bostock, and he gave me some phenomenal ideas on some things that I was having challenges with certain fungal problems and stuff. And you know, I think picking good sites and working together as an industry and sharing knowledge so that we're not duplicating each other's mistakes everywhere. Yeah. I try to tell, when people come up near Page Springs now, I try to tell everybody wants to plant down near the river. I'll never plant right next to the river again. It's too cold. Cold air drains out of Sedona at night, and it comes down, and it's more dense than warmer air, so it settles in the low areas, and that's my vineyards. The lower part of my vineyards right down near the river, and it keeps getting frosted, and winter kills, you know, low temperatures kill vines.
So are you going to plant some ice wine there?
Yeah, I know. I don't know, probably apples, but you know, so we're planting up higher up slopes now, and people tend to think you go higher at elevation. It's colder. Not when you're in a valley. Usually right above the valley bottom is quite a bit warmer. And you can walk from the slopes where I'm starting to plant down to the areas where I've already planted at night, and it changes like 15, 20 degrees. I mean, it's marked.
I actually noticed that at the fall harvest there, where the band was playing was quite a bit cooler than up in the parking lot.
Isn't that wild?
And it wasn't even a few hundred feet.
I know. Yeah, so it's that alone. When people come to Page Springs now, I go, I know you want to live by the river, but don't plant your grapes there. Buy a parcel that starts in the hills and rolls down to the river. You know, put your house down where it freezes and put your grapes up top, you know.
And do you have any plans or interests in any other areas, or you got your hands full with what you've got?
Well, you mean geographically?
Yeah.
Well, the interest in other areas geographically also links to other interests in general. I would really love someday, once, everything's stable to make sparkling wine. I love, good champagne, vintage champagne is my desert island wine. I would love to be able to make good sparkling wines, and to me that's going to be higher in elevation. Pinot and Chardonnays and cooler sites. Sparkling wines are all about acid and crispness to me. So there's that. And,
so down southeast way, maybe.
yeah, or maybe even near Prescott, or and I'm also very interested in distilling. We generate a huge amount of pomace every year, and the idea of making good quality barrel-aged grappas. Grappa's got a bad name in some circles, but there's some really fine, delicate aromatic grappas out there, and I would love to not only do some clear grappas that are fruity and aromatic, but some barrel-aged ones that are more like cognacs.
So you actually don't want to waste. You can use everything in that way.
And you can see how that's part of. Obviously, I love fine drinks in general. And
you like the finer things in life.
Yeah, and if I had bubbly, some kind of good cognac like grappa and wine, I just have to get a little brewery and I'd be totally covered.
You got the big three, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. But it's also part of that whole, looking at what your waste products are and wanting to funnel them back into a productivity stream. It's all about efficiency. We compost it now, which is certainly a way to use it. But I'd love to put some into compost and some of it into a still.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Let me know when you get that set up.
I will.
Thanks, Eric.
Sure, man.